Hello, welcome to A Tinge Ginge. Now today we're going to be doing a little bit of airbrushing. So this is the first time I've used my airbrush properly. I've done an unboxing video of this, and I've sort of, since unboxing it and doing a little bit more research on it, I've sort of learned a few new things about it, just how to use it and operate, things like that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be painting a small fishing lure. I do have a larger one, but I just need to do a little bit more work on that before that's going to be ready, and this is something that I knocked up in about 10 minutes, just as like a little practice run basically. Now the paints that I've got, they're nothing special. I haven't got any metallic paints. I thought I'll just go for some basic colours to begin with, just like a random colour palette, and that's just so I can sort of have a little practice at airbrushing. So I'm not expecting anything fantastic with this. It's just going to be a case of me sort of learning the ropes and sort of having a little go and a little play and seeing what I can actually do basically. So I will be airbrushing this properly. I'm probably going to be putting a hard coat on this as well, like an epoxy layer, just so it sort of seals all the paint and stuff like that, and going from there really. No, it's not going to be anything amazing. I don't have any mesh or anything like that, so I can't do a scale pattern, and I do need to put some eyes on this as well. I've made a little mold, so I've got a little mold that I've made, and I'm going to try and make some eyeballs myself basically. Whether it's going to work out well, I don't know, but we're going to give it a go. It's just something that I thought I'd try, something that was sort of going through my head, and if it works then I'll probably do a separate video on this, how I made it and things like that, but it's something to sort of mess about with and try basically. So what I'll do is now I'm going to show you the quick setup I've got here. Again, it's nothing fantastic because I'm sort of still working in this setting. I'm still sort of setting everything up, getting it in place, and all I've done is I've just laid some blue paper towel basically down on my workbench, and that's going to be where I'm going to do the spray and just sort of stop getting any paint on the desk. But eventually I'm going to build like a proper little spray booth that I can sort of hang my little spray gun up, put all my paints and stuff like that on it, just to make the working space a little bit easier, so I don't have to keep reaching and grabbing and moving about. It's just all in one space, so it's going to be comfy for me. So yeah, what we'll do is we're going to get some paint in the airbrush, have a little few sort of practice strokes on a piece of paper or whatever, and then we'll get into actually painting this. So this is how I'm going to have the camera angle. Hopefully I can get some sort of half decent images and footage from this. I do need to get some lights in this, so it is going to be fairly dark, but once I get everything set up, it should be a little bit better for filming. But this is what I'm running with at the minute. Obviously I've got my airbrush, it's ready to go. I've given this like a little once over just to make sure everything is working, just so I don't want to come into any sort of complications. Got my air compressor all set up, ready to go, and yeah, we're gonna have a little go and see what we can do. So I've got my bucket of water to the right, that's just for cleaning the airbrush in, just so I can dunk it in, give it a good slosh around and get any excess paint out of here. I don't have any airbrush cleaner yet. That's going to be something I'm going to be ordering eventually, just so I can actually clean this out properly, but to be honest I think the water is going to clean this fairly well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with some white, just as sort of a base layer to sort of paint on top of. I'm guessing that's probably going to show all the imperfections on this little lure as well. It's not, I don't think this is the best quality I could get it, but it was something I just quickly chucked together. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop a few drops down into there. It's only a small little thing I'm going to be painting, so I don't think I'm going to need a lot of paint, and we're going to sort of see if we can get some paint flowing. So you can see there that paint's come out fairly well. I'm quite happy with the way that's come out. It's just sort of getting used to the airbrush side of it, sort of knowing how much to sort of toggle this back to sort of release the paint and stuff like that. So it's all going to come down to practice basically. I probably should have done a few practice bits before this, but I'd rather just jump straight into it and start having a go. Okay. So you can hear the compressor going as well. To be honest, it's not that loud. It probably sounds loud because the compressor is right next to the camera, like the camera's here, the compressor's literally like where these paints are, so it's going to be fairly loud when that comes on. Eventually that will be underneath my table, so I can box that in and you won't even hear it at all basically. I'm just going to keep checking it for now though, just to make sure it doesn't get hot, because that's what a lot of people said tends to happen. So here we are, we're going to start off getting this base layer on. Hopefully it goes on pretty well. I would probably put gloves on, but I'm not too bothered at the minute. I just want to sort of have a little play and a little practice. So I'm sort of spraying quite far away from it, just so I can try and get a nice even coating basically, get it all sort of coated in one go. Okay, so that's the bait covered in white. I'm pretty happy with that to be honest. It's quite an even coating, I think. There's not any sort of patches that are dripping or running, anything like that, so I'm fairly happy with that. What I'm going to do is, just while this is drying, I don't really have anywhere to place it at the minute, so I've just got an old little G-clamp here. I'm just going to sort of clamp it in that. I probably will be using this G-clamp as my my grip for it basically, just so that I've got something to hold on to rather than the lip. But try and get that onto there like that, clamp that on. So yeah, that's going to hold that for me pretty securely, and if I put that down, that's just going to keep it off the floor. So I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a quick clean. All I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to get this in the water, give it a slosh around. I'm going to pull on this piece here. If I unscrew this, just because the paint does get in the needle and in the nozzle, I've seen a lot of people, they sort of do this backwards and forwards, and that just helps sort of get the paint out of the barrel of the gun. So that's all I'm going to do now. Right, so now this is dry. I don't know if it's going to come up on the camera or not. Let me try and zoom in if I can. But you can see there's all the little imperfections basically from where I rushed through it. Didn't really spend much time sanding it down and giving it a nice finish. You can see there are all those little imperfections there, but to be honest, I'm not too bothered about that. Knowing my luck, if I do use this little lure, I'll end up losing it within 10 minutes anyway. So yeah, again, it is just a sort of a little practice thing for me, just have a little go. So now we've got the base layer on, I need to sort of try and come up with a paint scheme. Now with the colours I've got, I can't really go for anything too crazy. I can't really go for anything that's going to be sort of too realistic, just because I don't have any of the metallic colours or anything like that. So what I'll probably end up doing is I'm probably going to put a little bit of red on the bottom of it, just like a little bit of red there, just to sort of simulate the redness of some bait fish. We've got black, so I'll be putting like a black dorsal line down the back there, just to sort of imitate that sort of fish sort of colour. When you look at fish in the water, they have that sort of colour. And then to be honest, I don't really know what else to go for. I mean, there's loads of colours here, but they're not really colours that I can really work with. I need some more sort of metallic colours and stuff. So I've got a light grey. I could probably have a little play with that, maybe put some light grey down the flanks, maybe give it a little bit of colour. I do want to put some blue in as well. I've got like a bright blue, so I might put some blue just sort of on the top there, just to sort of give it a little bit more colour. Yeah, to be honest, with this you can sort of go mad. You can paint whatever you want basically. It's whatever you want to do with it. So I'm going to put sort of a layer of grey on the side, just because that's the closest I've got to a silver colour. So that's going to go on the sides first. And yeah, don't sort of take any of this gospel. I am literally just sort of making it up as I go along basically. I don't really have a clue what I'm aiming for in the long run here, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. So I'm just going to get that paint to come through. Just get used to, basically getting used to feathering this. So you push down to get the air, then you pull back to release the paint, and it's basically just sort of trying to get used to not having too much paint blasting through, because obviously if I blast too much paint through, then it's just going to look a bit naff really. So I'm going to sort of aim for this mid section for the grey and sort of try and blend the grey into the bottom. The top bit doesn't matter, because I'm going to blend the blue down and then blend the black down. That's the idea. Whether it happens, I don't know, but we shall see. So you're not going to be able to see this on camera. There is a very, very slight gradient from that white to grey. I might go a little bit heavier with that grey, sort of in this middle part more. Something like that. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that actually. It sort of fades into that white a little bit. I'd probably like it to fade into the white a little bit more, just sort of give it that more realistic look, but it's so subtle that you can't really see it. And what I've sort of picked up from other people that paint lures is, even though it looks quite subtle now, once you get the clear coat on it, that sort of brings all the richness and the tones and everything else out. So I'm not going to go too mad. I can see that from here. I'm quite happy with that. I want the belly to be sort of a pearl white. I'm just going to sort of clean it up around the edges, and then that'll probably be it. Yeah, no, that's better. It's like a, I'll show you close up, but you might be able to see it. It's like a small curve just on the belly there, just where the grey sort of comes down into the belly. So I'm happy with that. So now all I've got to do is try and get that exactly the same on the other side, which is going to be a bit of a challenge because most people that do this a lot, they can sort of guess where it all needs to go, but for me, I'm sort of making it up as I go along. So for me, I'm going to aim, the top of this line sort of aims from this hook hanger at the front, line tie at the front, all the way to the top of this hook hanger. So that's where the top of the gradient kind of needs to be. And then from here, where the lip is, the gradient sort of starts just under that lip, comes down just sort of midway on this slope. So it actually comes out quite well on the camera. It looks quite blue on the camera, but it's supposed to be a grey. So it's going to be interesting what the clear coat is going to do to this. But right, I'm going to try and do the same on the other side. Now, I'm not using any paint thinners or anything like that. From what I've sort of researched, you can just use paint straight out of the tub, so you don't need to put thinners and stuff like that on it. So yeah, it seems to be working all right so far. I'm hoping all this is in focus. If it's not, then I'm absolutely useless. So I'm just comparing the two sides just to make sure I've got that gradient right. Belly's faded in nicely. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. That looks pretty decent. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. So if I can try and get a close up this, I am sorry about that compressor. Like I said, the compressor isn't going to be there long term. It is just while I'm sort of setting up. But you can sort of see that gradient going down to the belly. And if you look on the belly here, there's like up here there's like a white section, which is nice. Then again on this side it's got that gradient. So I'm pretty happy with that. It sort of looks fairly even on both sides. I mean, I probably could go, I'm going to go a little bit darker. Don't want to try and ruin it and overdo it, but I'm just going to go a little bit darker on this side. Yeah, just like that. Yeah, no, that's spot on. I'm happy with that. I like how it's blending in with the belly of the bait as well. That's really cool. That's nice. Good. So again, repeat the whole process. I'm going to keep this out to dry. I will get like a little small hairdryer or blower or something like that, just so this dries quicker. But yeah, I'm just going to sort of leave that for a few minutes while that's drying, clean the airbrush out again. So we're going to move on to the next colour now. Now I've got like this. It's like a grey blue sort of colour, because we've done the grey down the flanks. So I want to sort of blend that grey and that blue in. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be very, very light. Basically I want a very, very light spraying, and that's just because I want that to sort of, where this top edge is here, I want that top edge just to sort of fade down into the flank very, very slightly, just to give a little bit of colour on the top. And then I'll go over the top of that with the black, just to try and make it look a little bit more realistic. So I've got to be very careful now, because this is quite a strong colour compared to what I've been spraying already. So I don't want to overdo it with the paint and sort of risk ruining what I've already done on the side. So I'm going to take it very slow. I'm literally going to push down and I'm going to pull back very slightly, just so I get a very small amount of paint sort of coming through. That is pretty much how I want it, not much darker. I might even do some little tiny tiger stripes going down. I don't know how confident I'm feeling with it yet. I might have to have a little practice, but what I'm aiming for basically is, I'm holding the brush where this dorsal ridge is, along the top of the bait. I'm holding the brush, pointing that, and I'm hoping that as I spray that top ridge, the overspray is going to sort of merge down onto the flank of the bait, and that's going to sort of give it a nice soft sort of blending down the side. That's what I'm aiming for, basically. Whether it turns out like that or not, I'm not too sure, but that's what I think I'm trying to do anyway. Every time that kicks in, it makes me jump. Yeah, I like that. Nice gradient to it. I'm really digging that. It's nice. Sort of, you can see it's got that bluish shine to the top, then it sort of blends down into that flank. So I'm looking at it, and I do want to put some very tiny sort of tiger perch-like stripes down that side. So I'm going to have a quick practice just on here. So the further you hold the brush away, the more spray area you're going to get. The closer you hold it, the tighter the spray area is going to be. So all I want to do is just have a little practice, make sure I've got paint. So I'm going to spray, make sure I get all that out, pull back slightly. It's going to be hard trying to get the result I want. So I'm basically ending up, if you look there, you can see like the tip of that tiger stripe, there's like a dark spot. That's not really what I want. I want it to be the same colour all the way down. I've got a rough idea of what I'm doing, I think. I'm going to put a little bit more of the paint in. So this is probably the bit where I'm going to mess up. And I don't really want to have to re-go over it and do it all again. So I'm going to take this very, very slow. Literally, I'm going to be spraying a tiny amount of paint coming through, and it's going to be so faint that even if I have to go over it 2 or 3 times, I'm not too bothered about that. It's just a case of I want to try and get this spot on. I'm quite OCD when it comes to stuff like this, so if I get it wrong, I'm not going to be very happy. But it's all a learning curve at the end of the day. You've got to start somewhere. So just clear that paint out of the nozzle, work out how much I need to draw. Ooh, I hardly need to pull that back. This little lever here, I need to hardly pull that back, and so the colour comes out. So that's what I'm going to do now. Keep your fingers crossed for me. So we're getting there. You can see there's some stripes. This first one come out about the right darkness. The other two I was being a bit careful of. You can see they're quite sort of faded, so I'm going to try and get them to sort of come down that same sort of colour. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. It almost looks like it reminds me of a mackerel, that. It's almost like a mackerel pattern. I'm going to try and get these ones down the tail a little bit darker, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out, to be honest. It's so tricky. I know people use stencils and stuff like that for this, but yeah, I'm quite happy with the way that's turned out. I really like that, so let's keep going. Steady. It's looking quite decent. I'm quite liking that look. I didn't want to go too far down because obviously it'll then start going into the white. I wanted to try and keep these stripes as sort of high up on the bait as I could, but yeah, I'm liking that. That's looking pretty decent actually. I'm really impressed. All I've got to do now is try and replicate this on the other side, which is going to be horrendous just because I want it to be exactly the same. So yeah, we'll give it a go on this side and see what we can come up with. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty even, to be honest. You can kind of tell by the stripe down the middle that I've sort of got the right angle. But you can see where that line tie at the front is, it sort of goes in between that and the lip and runs down to sort of the bottom of the hook hanger at the bottom. Now if you look here again, it sort of starts at the bottom there and goes down. I could probably take this a little bit lower. I just want to make sure I blend it in a little bit more. Yeah, and there, that's pretty much spot on. So now all I've got to do is get those stripes on. So I'm just trying to work out where those stripes need to sort of be in relation to the other ones. They don't need to be 100% perfect. I just want to make sure as soon as I get the first one right, I should be able to carry on the next ones. And another thing I said was I forgot to say I wanted to follow that belly with the lines, so you can see the first line's quite high, then it sort of swoops around and follows that shape. That's what I'm sort of aiming for pattern wise, so we're gonna just try and give it a go. This side should be a little bit better for filming just because I can hold it a bit easier. So again, I'm going to have to be very gentle when pulling back to get paint to come through. Don't want to put too much through at once. So you can see I've kind of mucked up there. You can see that middle stripe is quite dark, and that, to be honest, they're all quite a little bit darker. So I'm just going to go back over to this side, just make these a little bit darker. I got a little bit excited pulling back on the nozzle, so I'm just going to darken these ones up just a little bit more, just so they do match a little bit better. I can live with that middle stripe. I mean, it is a little bit darker and stuff like that, but to be honest, I'm happy with that. Yeah, good. Right, again, same process, let that dry, clean the airbrush out. So far, I'm really happy with how it's turned out. It's kind of got like maybe like a tiger shark sort of pattern going. I know this side's a little bit different, it's a little bit darker, the pattern's a little bit more jagged. Next time I'll probably make a little stencil for this, just so that I can actually get it all spot on basically, so it's going to be the same. But to us, when you're sort of hand free lining, free brushing this sort of pattern, I mean, I think I've done pretty well for my first attempt. It's not bad at all. Bear in mind I've not had any practice, so yeah, I'm really happy with that, and the camera just doesn't want to focus. So yeah, I'm happy the way that's turned out so far. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a strip of black down here, just to sort of blend that black in with this blue colour. I'm going to put a small bit of red just around this bottom bit here, and then we'll work on getting some eyes on it and clear coating it, and then seeing what the overall look of it is. So yeah, it's looking good. And again, I need to be very careful with this because the black is going to be a very sort of overpowering colour, so I've got to be careful of overspray. I don't want it to spray too far down the flanks and sort of ruin what I've done. And yeah, this is going to be the real test because this is so close to being finished. I'm so happy with the way it's turned out already. I really don't want to ruin it, so yeah, this is going to be the real sort of tester for me. Again, taking it slow, taking my time, not rushing it. Hopefully it all works out. Purge the brush. Here we go. The way I'm sort of attacking this is I'm keeping the brush sort of pointed down at the same angle as the bait, so the main bit of spray will go on to this back bit, and then hopefully a little bit of the overspray will go either side. So as long as I keep this in a straight motion up and down, I should get an even layer of paint basically. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm just going to go backwards and forwards nice and slowly, just to try and get that even layer. I'm going to keep it quite close as well. The further back, the more paint is going to come out. I want to try and control it to a small area. Getting there, it's looking good. The spray sort of hasn't gone down too far just yet. It's a nice even spray across the back. What I'm doing is now I'm going to sort of come back a little bit further with the brush and just try and get a little bit more overspray down the sides. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah, no, that is spot on. I'm really happy with the way that's coming out now. You can see that black, it's hard because of the light, you can't see, but that black just fades down into that blue. It's not too aggressive with that paint. The same on that side, it just fades down. That looks pucker. I'm really happy with that. That looks absolute nuts, that does. So finally what I want to do is I'm just going to take some of the red, and I just want to put a small sort of red area sort of around that bottom hook hanger. And again, I'm going to start off quite close in like a circular motion, and then I'm going to sort of come out a little bit more and a little bit more, and I'm hoping that overspray will just sort of blend that red into the white, just to make it look a little bit more natural basically. And then once that's done, we're going to do the clear coat. Now, before that, we're going to do the eyes, and then we're going to do the clear coat. Now with the clear coat, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'll mention that when I get closer to it, but I'm so impressed the way this turned out. I'm really happy. I want to get fishing now, but because the new lockdown that's happened, I don't think we're allowed to go fishing currently. I will look into it because I do want to sort of get these baits out and try and catch a fish on camera with them, just because for my own sort of benefit really, but just so you can see that you can make your own baits and they will work. So we're going to have a go at this red. Again, I think the red and the white, the red's going to be quite overpowering on the right if I go too mad. So again, taking it slow and steady just to try and make sure that I don't mess up all the work I've been doing. I'm really shocked with myself. I'm really impressed as well that I've managed to get to this stage and actually do as well as I have. There's probably you lot sitting at home thinking, "God, that looks rubbish," but come on, give me some credit. It's my first time doing this, so last little bit. So this is what we're going to work on, this area here. The light's starting to go as well. It's getting a bit late now, so I do need to hurry up, but yeah, once I get lighting panels near, I'll be able to film in 4K and everything. It'll be a lot better, but for now this will also have to do while I'm still setting up. Pretty happy with that, to be honest. I didn't want to go too mad with the red, and it does have like a slight fade going down, but obviously that red's going to overpower that white quite a bit, so I'm probably going to leave it there. I'm really happy with that. Again, I don't want to put too much red on it, just because the overall colour of it is sort of, it's quite a dark grey bluey colour. That red is just there, so if there is anything from down below, if this lure's sort of high up in the water, that's just going to give it a little bit more colour basically from up above. Just give it a little bit more of a realistic look, but that's quite even, to be honest. It's fairly central to that hook hanger on the bottom there. It's got a little bit of overspray, sort of where it's blending up the side there. Again, I don't want that to be too mad because I do want this to be quite white, so yeah, I'm happy with that. I think that looks, it's sort of reminding me of like a great white / tiger shark now. That's what I'm sort of popping into my head. So now that's dry, we're going to get on to making some eyes using the little mould I've made, and if they come out well, we'll stick the eyes on and we'll get this clear coated. There's a lot of bubbles that have formed on the inside, so it's not crystal clear. It's got all them bubbles sort of in there, so I'm going to have a little play around with it. I think it might be a case I might just have to paint on top of these for now and put the eye, sort of the dot and stuff on top of it. Well, I don't know, we'll see. But to be honest, they've come out pretty decent. They're not perfectly round, just because I think the mould was a bit crap that I made, but yeah, they're not as clear as what I would have liked them. I did try and blast them with the heat gun just to try and get the bubbles out, but it just didn't get it out. So I wouldn't say it's a complete fail. If I was to mix something else in with them, I'd probably make a colour, but they're just not clear like I wanted them to be, basically. So what I think I'll do is I'll probably just paint wherever I want onto the surface of these with a paintbrush, and then I'll just stick them on that way, and I think that's going to give me the sort of effect I want. What I think I'll do is I'm going to start off with a red circle, just to sort of give it a bit of background colour. I'm then going to put a little black dot in the middle, and then once that dries, I'm probably going to paint over the top of it with the nail varnish that I've got, the glittery nail varnish, just to give it some sort of sparkles on the outside. You can see it's quite holographic and glittery, and then paint that over the top, and then hopefully that will give it that holographic look that I wanted to go for. So yeah, we'll give that a go, and then we'll get into actually clear coating the actual bait. Now that they're finally dry, I can actually get these stuck onto the bait, which is going to be the exciting part. Hopefully they peel off quite easily. I might give this another go just to see how it turns out, because I do think there's some potential in it. I do think I can make it work. It's just a case of trying to get all the bubbles out and sort of going from there, but I've sort of improvised with what I've got, and to be honest, I think they've turned out fairly decent. There's a little bit of sparkle to them. We've got the black pupil, we've got the red, and I think once we actually get this on the bait, it's going to sort of make the bait come alive. something like that. Now it's quite a big eye, it does stand out a lot. It's sort of like a big sort of bug eye sort of thing, but I don't mind that. I think that's going to look pretty decent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a small dab of glue on the eye. Now the awkward part is trying to get this eye on without sticking it to myself. Oh, I'm dropping it, which is never good. Hopefully there's still a little bit of glue on there. Like I said, I'm going to be putting a resin coating over this, so I'm not too worried about these sticking on and falling off. I think that's going to be about right, just there. Oh, it looks so silly. Look at the size of that eye for that bait. It's not too much the size there. The size there looks like it's the way it sticks out. It's like a huge bug eye. I'm hoping once I get the clear coat on it, that'll sort of blend all those edges in anyway, so it doesn't sort of stick out as much, but I'm happy with that. Just get the other one stuck on the other side. Make sure I stick this flat as well. Make sure it's not raised up. So now again, my OCD is going to kick in. I've got to try and get this placed on the bait perfectly. Just giving it some pressure, pushing down, making sure that it does stick. And yeah, they're pretty even, to be honest. I'm happy with that. And there we go, we have some bait, some eyes stuck on the bait. It's crazy, crazy. I'm so excited with the way this is turning out right now. Look at that. I think that looks the absolute nuts. So yeah, what I'm going to do is now, like I said, I've got that other sort of micro powder, sort of makeup-y, powdery sort of stuff here. It's like got a little, it's like a purple glitter effect, and I'm hoping that's just going to give this a really cool little shimmer, basically. And all I'm going to be using is the same Gorilla epoxy. I've got a heat gun as well, so I'm going to be running a heat gun over the top of it, just to hopefully get any of those bubbles out of the bait. And I've got an old brush here that I'm going to use, which is going to die because of the epoxy, but it doesn't matter, it's just an old brush. So I don't think I'm going to need too much epoxy for this bait. It's only a small lure, so yeah, I'm not going to need too much. I don't want this coating to be ridiculously thick, but I'm probably going to be brushing it on for quite a while, just getting all the bubbles out and strokes and things like that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to start mixing this together. Hopefully the powder will mix in quite well. I didn't want to use too much powder because I don't want too much purple. I want the purple literally just to sort of help blend in all the colours of the lure with the reds and the blue and the black and the grey. Hopefully it just adds a little bit of sparkle to it as well, so when this moves in the water, it should have like a little bit of a glint from it. Just because I don't have any metallic paints, basically, I can't really add any sort of shine and shimmer to it, so I'm hoping that this will do the trick. Now I'm going to be putting a lot of bubbles into this, which isn't ideal, but I'm hoping the heat gun will get all those bubbles out. I'm going to have to get a pair of pliers as well, because I don't think I'm going to be able to hold this while I'm putting the heat gun over it, because that will sort of cook my fingers a bit. So I've got my pliers ready. I'm going to sort of grip hold of that lip with the pliers. Hopefully that's going to protect my fingers when I'm actually using the heat gun. And so now all of it is a case of doing is getting all of this painted onto the lure, and hopefully that purple isn't going to be too strong that it masks all of the colour. So I'm going to try and get it all the way up to the lip. Try not to get too much on the lip if I can help it, but yeah, I don't want this to be too thick on the bait, so I'm going to try and spread it as thin as I possibly can. Just cover it all, making sure I get a nice decent layer on it, just because I want it to be as protected as possible. And it's just good practice really for when I start doing proper baits and things like that, just getting used to getting a decent clear coat. I probably won't use epoxy. I'm going to be using like a 3D printing resin, which sort of hardens under UV light. I know there's a couple of people that use like a UV activated clear coat. I can't really find that anywhere over here, so I'm going to be using a 3D printing resin instead, which is exactly the same that they use for the resin printers. So I'm hoping that's going to do the same thing. And then we're just going to go to the heat gun and try and even it all out, get rid of the bubbles. So now I've got those air bubbles out using the heat gun. I'm just going to let that epoxy slow dry, and you can see already, you can see the little flecks of glitter in the top. It looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait for this to dry so I can show you it properly. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this has turned out. Look at that. Look at all that sparkle on the top there. That looks incredible. It literally just about the right amount. So we'll let this dry and then we'll have a closer look at it. Check that out. Look at that. I'm so happy with the way it's turned out. You can see all the sparkles in that, where I've done the clear coat. The eyes come out absolutely fantastic. I wanted to try and get in some sunshine, so I've come outside, but yeah, I'm really happy with the way that's turned out. It's not bad for my first attempt, I think. A little bit of difference on this side. You can see the stripes aren't as prominent, but still learning. But yeah, I think that's come out really nice. The sparkle in that sunlight just looks incredible. Yeah, well chuffed. Right, what we'll do is now we're going to get in the pool and give it a little test run just to see how it swims. Now I think the bait runs absolutely perfectly. The way it wobbles, it's got a nice wobble to it. If you really rip it quite fast, it still has some action, which is nice. It's not sort of tipping up and sort of flipping over and not coming through the water properly. It's got really nice action. Even when you pull it back slow, it's still got that wiggle going, and I think it's absolutely spot on, to be honest. I can't fault the bait in any way. It's got a really nice sink to it as well. If you just leave it just in the water, it slowly moves down the water column. It's not like a really fast sinker, which is not what I want, to be honest. It has got that lip as well, just to sort of keep it down a little bit. But you can see as it does fall down, it falls almost perfectly parallel, like both the hooks rest on the bottom. And as soon as those hooks reach the bottom, it literally just hovers off of the bottom of the pool. I think I've managed to do that by luck. Like I said, this lure was literally chucked together in about sort of 15-20 minutes. I sort of rush jobbed it just so I had something to have a play with on the spray gun, basically. But it's turned out to be absolutely spot on. So I am going to try and get out and fish with this and try and catch something. I'm also going to start making some more lures. We're doing sort of different shapes, different sizes. I don't want to make anything too big. I'm not a fan of fishing with large lures. I prefer fishing with smaller lures. Just my own preference. I just feel that I get a better catch rate on smaller lures than I do the larger ones. So as soon as we're allowed to get back out fishing, I will get out back to my local lake and we'll give them a go, basically, just see if we can get anything on. But it just gives me a chance to sort of get a few more baits together, get a few different colour patterns. I want to go into like the tropical fish line. If you've seen tropical fish, they're sort of quite bright and vibrant. And I want to try and create some of them colours, basically. It's going to be quite difficult because that's the first time I've airbrushed, so trying to get anything that's a little bit more detailed, a little bit more fancy is going to be quite tricky, but I think I'll be able to manage it, and it's going to be nice sort of experimenting with different size baits as well, different shapes, just see the weights and things like that. It's all going to be a learning curve for me, but it's something I'm sort of really looking forward to getting into. So that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed this little segment of what I get up to. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.